perfect. In fact, the conspiracy believes that we common people have progressed to the point of being Homo sapiens man through evolution. And they, the illuminated ones, have evolved higher into a higher form of mankind called Homo noeticus man. The word noetic is Greek for the mind or the intellect. So the number 13 contains a secret, hidden, occult meaning, and that is why the number 13 is significant and symbolic. There is one more significant insight as to why this nation's founding fathers chose the date of July the 4th to declare America's independence from Great Britain. The old Julian calendar was changed in the year 1582 by an order of Pope Gregory the 13th. I wonder if it is important to note that this Pope, the 13th one to change his name to Gregory, was the one to change the calendar. I'm certain it's just another coincidence. The acknowledged reason was because the old calendar was 11 days behind the sun. In other words, the old calendar was no longer accurate in measuring the solar year. So the astronomers were having difficulty in measuring the time it took for the Earth to make one complete revolution around the sun. So in October of 1582, the old June the 23rd became July the 4th. And to explain this, I would like to explain what this means. And just so you will understand, I've exaggerated the distances on the horizon between the setting of the sun on various days. If you were to mark the horizon every evening as the sun sets, you would notice that it appears to move up and then down as it sets each night. The sun moves south each night until December 22nd, and then it sets at the same spot each night for 3 days. And then on December 25th each year, the sun starts moving north again. It sets at a site which is north of the setting sun the night before. And then on June the 21st or 22nd, the sun stops again for 3 nights. So June the 23rd is 2 days after the summer solstice, the day that the sun appears to be stopped after making its way north of the equator. It would be the next night to the last night before the sun starts moving south again. The sun worshippers celebrate on the night when the sun starts its direction in the opposite direction, because they are pleased that the sun did not die in the 3 days. So June the 23rd and 24th are nights of celebration, because it was a day of recognition for those who thought the sun, and therefore the sun god, died on each June the 22nd. That day ended at sunset, so after that moment, the next day started, and this was the day the sun actually started its journey home. Babylonians in the past celebrated that night by lighting bonfires to Baal, their sun god. And Americans light fires in the sky called fireworks after sunset on July the 4th. Observers will quickly note that this is the only American holiday that is traditionally celebrated by fireworks. So here we see a connection between the celebration of July the 4th and sun worship. So the Founding Fathers concealed a holiday to the sun god in the choice of the date of July the 4th to declare their independence from Great Britain. It appears that many things once thought unexplainable have an explanation after all. One must only look. The Great Seal is represented on the back of the dollar bill. It contains other symbols that have generally not been explained to the American people. I'd like to finish my study of the eye above the pyramid. Manly P. Hall, the 33rd degree Mason, and perhaps the greatest writer in history in support of the mystery religion, wrote this: "The eye above the pyramid represents the radiant emblem of the great architect of the universe, the title of the Masonic God." The following are 4 quotes about eyes as symbols from writers studying the issue. The eye was also the symbol of Osiris. Osiris, the sun and principle of good. Osiris was the chief god of the Egyptians. Osiris was the sun. An eye in honor of the great eye of the universe, the sun. So here is the first mention of the eye being both a symbol of the sun and, in fact, of the god who is symbolized by the sun. So it appears that the eye above the pyramid on the back of the American dollar bill is the eye of Osiris, a symbol of the sun god. One can only conclude that our founding fathers knew what they were doing. Not only did they conceal their ancient secret religion in the Great Seal of the United States, they also concealed it in the name of this nation. This next subject is perhaps the most controversial point I will be discussing in this presentation, so please get ready for it. Please remember that I asked you to be a member of a jury and that you had to be open, because this is very controversial, and I would like you to at least hear it and then make your own decision as to whether or not you will accept it. So providing you with that warning, I will now proceed. The first thing I would like to discuss is this statement in the Bible, because it will be the key to understanding what I will be discussing for the next few minutes. Revelation 12, chapter 12, verse 9. That old serpent called the devil was Satan, and Satan was cast out into the earth. And the reason this is significant is because whole cultures all over the earth have been worshiping the serpent or the snake in their religions. So please keep that in mind as we examine the following evidence. William Josiah Sutton, in his book entitled The Illuminati 666, added another very important piece of the puzzle to the story. This is what he wrote. The ancient Mayans, meaning the Mayan Indian tribe of the Yucatan in Mexico, a peninsula on the northeast side of Mexico, worshipped the serpent god under the name of Kan. Here we find the origin of the American word canny, shrewd, or serpent-like. The Babylonians worshipped Kan or Kan, the serpent, and Val, the god of fire. The Romans combined the words into Vulcan, the god of fire, from whence comes our word volcano. This seems to be how the Mayans and the Mexicans named their gods. They too combined 2 words to describe their serpent god. Hence, Kulkul means beautiful bird, and Kan means serpent. Kulkulkan means bird serpent in the Mayan language. This is the exact same meaning for Quetzalcoatl, the Mexican god. The cosmic symbol for Quetzalcoatl was a feathered serpent. The statement that Quetzalcoatl was the god of the Mexicans was partially confirmed in this photograph of an Indian dancing with a snake in his mouth. The caption underneath the picture reads in part, "The snake represents the Aztec god Quetzalcoatl." There was one similarity between all of these cultures. They worshipped the serpent god. I would like to start the discussion with this drawing that shows the Mayan Queen Mu as a child consulting the soothsayer. It shows the queen is receiving the words from their serpent god, but through the mouth of a soothsayer. The queen is shown on the left side of the drawing inside the red rectangle with her left hand on her face as she is seated facing the soothsayer. She is depicted as a young child, perhaps in her early teens. The soothsayer is shown in the green rectangle as she is seated in front of the queen with what appears to be a little table between them. She is shown in front of two other women and two huts. Behind the soothsayer is the yellow rectangle. In the yellow rectangle is a huge serpent which towers above the scene. Notice that it has its mouth open, and if it is speaking to the soothsayer, as if it is speaking to the soothsayer and the queen as well. The book that included this drawing in the pages said that the winged serpent behind her represented the protective genius of the Mayan Empire. So the snake serpent protected the Mayans. This is a representation of Prince Ko of the Mayans in the heat of battle. His head is near the center of the drawing, and behind him and taller than it appears to be the winged serpent, also representing the protective genius of the Mayan Empire. So the serpent was an important part of the worship of the Mayan and Aztec people, which means that it was an important part of the South American culture before the latest or the earliest Europeans landed in America. The American people have been told by the majority of the historians who have examined this nation's past that the name America was named after Amerigo Vespucci, supposedly the navigator for Christopher Columbus. But there is an alternative explanation. William Still, in his book entitled New World Order, offers the following explanation. The name America may be the product of secret societies. In an 1895 magazine named Lucifer, James Price gave an insight into the meaning of the word America. He said that the supreme god of the Mayan culture of Central America, known as Quetzalcoatl elsewhere, was known as Amaru in Peru. Amaru's territory was known as Amaracu. According to Price, from the latter comes the word America. America is translated land of the serpent. Mr. Price was not the only one to make this claim. Robert B. Stacy Mudd wrote a book entitled Atlantis, Mother of Empires, in which he attempts to make the claim that the Mayans came from the nation known as Atlantis, an island that allegedly sank during an earthquake. Now, this is not the place to examine his charges, but he does draw another startling conclusion. Quetzalcoatl, the Mayan god, was known as Kukulkan amongst the Aztecs. In Peru, he was known as Amaru. But all of these names have an identical meaning, the feathered serpent. From the Peruvian name comes America. This is a photograph of a feathered serpent in the 33rd degree Masonic Temple in Washington, D.C. Notice that the head of the serpent has wings. It is a feathered serpent. The feathered serpent would have flown from the old world to the new world, meaning America. By the way, notice that the swastika in the ornamental metalwork above the feathered serpent shown under the two red arrows. The swastika is also a symbol of the sun god and may be drawn two ways, one the reverse of the other. One way is called the evil swastika and the other is called the good swastika. This is a photograph of the swastika, the official symbol of Adolf Hitler's Nazi party. Notice that this is the evil form of the swastika, and it has been reported that Hitler knew the difference between the two forms of the symbol and that he intentionally selected this, the evil form. It was under this sun god symbol utilized by Adolf Hitler in the war that his government started that Hitler killed 53 million